Welcome on Easy Learning. Now we are going to cover next question of CTE-05 of Teaching English Secondary School. It is question number 5. Perhaps this is the last question of this assignment. Okay. What are the advantages of grammar games? Discuss their feasibility in your class. How do grammar games and grammar practice activities differ from traditional grammar exercises? Explain with examples of each type. Answer. Advantages of grammar games. Grammar games helps learners in arousing motivation and interest. Without interest and motivation, it is difficult to study grammar. Grammar games create competition. The spirit of competition can make them participate enthusiastically. Grammar games master language structures without getting bored. BORED. Games are based on contextual meaning and useful meaning. While playing the games, the learners needs to listen to and understand carefully. Grammar games comedy language. Sorry, grammar games convey CONVEY language information and opinion. It provides the key failures of a drill with the opportunity to understand the working of language as a living communication. The games help in improving reading, writing, listening, and speaking skill. It helps in all stages of teaching, learning, sequences, that is, presentation, practice, recombination, and free use of language. The games help teachers in finding learners' strengths and weaknesses. It becomes very valuable to teachers for further planning of their teaching. Feasibility grammar games. Feasibility of grammar games in the classroom. The grammar games can be used to make solidarity in the classroom to discuss one another. The teacher can make the group of students to make it advantageous and more enjoyable and understandable task. In grammar games, the students can create their own sentences based on their life experiences and in this way use them as a drill and practice in the classroom. The students do not feel boredom during their practice session and they cooperate each other for progress. They practice particularly the different levels and parts of grammar with practical situation. They learn different parts of speech, the practical use of tense, active passive voice, narrations, types of sentences, situational sentences. These altogether help them in coping, coping, the different kinds of difficulties. At later stages, it helps them in conversation, interview, and other purposes. The difference of grammar games and grammar practice activities from traditional grammar exercises. Traditional grammar practices or activities were not based on practical conversation, dialogue, communication, and for other purposes. Most of the practices were only based on strict grammatical rules, structures, and translation methods. The translations were mostly based on national language to English or mother tongue to English language. These practices and activities were not sufficient to bring students in practical world, classroom society, community, groups, friends, and in family to think. The learners had to strictly follow the strict instructions of the classroom and therefore the learners were cut off from the practical use of language according to situation and circumstances. Modern grammar games and grammar practice activities are based on not following the structures. Their main purposes are to use them practically in the classroom. For example, any grammatical structure, whether noun, pronoun, adjective, verbs, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, tense, voices, indirect speech, these altogether are not strictly taught grammatically, but also they are taught in the classroom to use them in practical world. Not but also, here there would be only but. In order to make the students or learners proficient in speaking, the learners are divided into groups. Then they are asked to use any grammatical structure in a practical way based on one's experience, day to day life incident, and other sources.